This short webinar recording will cover group communication, which is discussed in chapters 9 and 10 of your textbook Communication Principles for a Lifetime. To start, what is a group? The definition of a small group is really important to remember as you're reading the material throughout the chapter. So remember that a small group includes 3 to 15 individual members that share a particular purpose. So they are working towards a common goal that each group member desires to reach. Another definitive factor of small groups is that there's a sense of belongingness among members. So remember that there is a high degree of interconnectedness between the group members. So it's important to realize that relationships do matter when we're looking at small groups. They want to have a sense of belongingness with each other, comfortability, and this feeling of connectedness, especially in effective small groups. And going along with that is the idea that there is influence among the group members. So one person in the group member has some sort of influence on others. So again, going back to that idea of interconnectivity, what occurs to one person in the group is going to affect the other. And again, because they share the same common purpose or goal, oftentimes what the influence regards amongst each other regards that goal. So how does a team differ? A team is a much more organized and coordinated small group. So oftentimes you'll see a team in a specific context, such as within an organization or a business. So teams are brought together for a really specific purpose. They're coordinated to reach a common aim, such as with a small group, but oftentimes it's much more defined. So in an organization, you might have a team that is brought together to achieve a really specific goal that the organization needs to achieve. So each of the group members are oftentimes pulled together for specific reasons and coordinated together that would work best for reaching that goal. It's really more formal, if you think about it, than a small group as well, in the sense that people are brought together in this organizational or more formal setting. With that, you have more defined rules and responsibilities that each group member has and must follow. So responsibilities to the group are really important in a team, because if they feel like there's a lack of responsibilities or someone's lacking, that definitely can inhibit from the goals of the team to be achieved. There's oftentimes defined rules in teams as well, especially in formal organizations. There's oftentimes written rules for which group members should follow. So specific behaviors that they're expected to do and abide by. With a really defined goal or clear goals, there's always going to be clear steps to achieving those goals as well. So all team members are usually aware of the specific goal that needs to be achieved and the steps that that they need to take in order to achieve that goal. So again, it's important to know the difference between small groups and teams. Essentially, a team is a subsection of the larger umbrella of small group. So one question to think about here is, all teams are groups, but not all groups are teams. Is this true or false? If you answered true, this is correct. So all teams are groups. They fall under the umbrella of a small group, but not all groups are necessarily teams. There are certainly other types of groups that come together for a common purpose, but may not be as coordinated as a formal team. So we do oftentimes talk about how groups are really beneficial for achieving task goals, for creativity, for problem solving, but sometimes there's situations in which groups can be ineffective. So it's important to also understand when group or team collaboration is not the ideal way to go in a situation. Here are a couple of reasons at your book list. One is if there's limited time. So if a decision has to be made really quickly and there's not a lot of time for multiple people in a group to discuss it, then it's better for a group to not be created and just have one individual make that decision. So One of the things that is a factor in group and team performance is that there needs to be adequate time for collaboration and communication between group members to be able to reach their goals. So again, if the time isn't there, then it's probably not an effective situation for groups to occur. The second instance is when someone already has the answer. So remember that with groups, one person might have initially the answer, the best solution to reaching that goal that the group might have. So if that is the case, then it's probably better that a group does not collaborate. There's no need for it. The answer has already been found. And this is especially relevant in sort of like creative groups or problem-solving groups. If there's already an answer or solution that's best, then you don't need a group. If there's already a creative solution that's the best or the answer's the problem, again, that's the direction you should go. There's no need for a group to collaborate. The next is if information is available, and this is along the same lines as if someone already has the answer. If there's already information that is accessible, that can provide an easy route to the goal achievement, then there's no need for multiple groups or team members to try and seek out information that'll help reach the group's aim. And lastly, if there's any type of unmanageable conflict. So conflict is definitely an inhibitor of groups achieving their goal. So if there's any extent of unmanageable conflict that cannot be easily resolved, especially between group members, then it's not a really good idea to try to push the group to move forward. It's better for one person to deal with reaching the goal. So conflict, again, is an inhibitor or a blocker in the process of group development. So it's definitely something that is you don't want to take the route of going and putting together a group if this is in existence, if there's conflict present. So there's two different types of groups that are important for you to know. The first is a primary group, which basically just fulfills any type of basic need. So if you think about the people that foster the most strong relationships that you have, you can think of them as part of your primary group. So families are one of the most important primary groups that most people have, in the sense that they're long-lasting. The family typically stays together for long periods of time, and as they move through the process of different events within long periods of time, there's definitely changing goals, but the aim is to sort of stay together. Social groups, friends, and there's many different types of friend groups that you can have that have similar goals or similarities, can also be considered a primary group. So if you think about people that you maybe share in a soccer team, or you might share as a church group, those are social groups that definitely fulfill that need of belongingness, similar to your family. In addition to primary groups, there's also secondary groups, which really focus for a really specific goal. So there's a couple of groups that I've listed here for that have specific goals, and once the group has achieved those goals, then oftentimes the group will dismantle or disillusion, so dissolve. So like a study group, for instance, comes together for the purpose of studying particular material. If you're in school and you're studying for a class, you might form a study group to be able to work with others to better understand the information in the course. So with that, the study group definitely allows for a better understanding of the material and to have the aim of passing the course or doing really well in the course. Once the course is over, that study group no longer needs to be together. It can dismantle. It's achieved the goal. Similarly with therapy groups, people often come together if there is a particular issue where they'd like to seek out other individuals who share the same feelings. So they come together to hear each other out, to talk to each other, and to give advice. So once they feel maybe more comfortable and they no longer feel like they have an issue, they might no longer need to be involved in a therapy group. Lastly, our problem-solving groups. Once the problem is solved, oftentimes these groups are dismantled. So they come together for the specific goal of solving a particular problem. Once it's done, there's no longer a need for it to function. So, question. An in-depth interview of a small group whose aim is to discover what people think about an issue or product is an A, information sharing group, B, problem solving group, C, focus group, D, educational or learning group. The correct answer to this is C, focus group. In-depth interviews oftentimes include groups of people that come together for the aim of information seeking. So a particular group or company might ask people in-depth questions about a particular issue or product to get their perception on it. So it definitely is a way for them to seek out information from the group of that's involved in the focus group, of the individuals that are involved in the focus group. So once they get their information, there's no longer the need for the focus group to stay together. So I'm going to now get into group and team dynamics. In this section, I'll be discussing the different roles that individuals can play within the group. There's 3 main categories of roles, and it's important for you to know the difference between each of them. Task and social roles are considered productive in the sense that they help the group progress and move forward towards goal achievement. Individual goals are going to be the negative roles that inhibit groups from progressing. So when you think about individual roles, don't think of it as just a person taking on a single role. Individual roles really refer to the individual as having more focus than the group. So when an individual focuses on him or herself, then you know that they're taking away from the group's goals. So they're considered counterproductive. So I'm going to first talk about task roles. With task roles, you focus on task achievement. So all of these roles are what behavior that an individual takes on to help the task move forward, or to help the individuals in the group to stay on task to meet their goals. So anything that has to do with achieving the group's goals will fall under a task role. I've listed specific group goals here, and it's important for you to go back to the book and look at the different types of task roles and remember what they are specifically. I'm going to pick out a couple of them that are more important to remember. The recorder is certainly an important role that's oftentimes present in groups. This person takes notes or logs the information that has occurred within group meetings so that the group is able to stay organized and on track and have information straight. So this is definitely a person that will help the group maintain organization and move forward. The coordinator is somebody who tries to coordinate people together in the group and to help those or other people in the group to work together towards getting specific tasks in the group done. And again, those tasks are moving towards the group's goals. You can also have somebody who's an information seeker or giver, which deals with someone who goes out and finds information and brings it to the group, and others who might be in the group who ask additional questions to try to gain information to bring to the group. So this also is really important in terms of reaching the group's goals. So one thing to remember with task roles and any type of these roles that we're talking about is that they are fluid. So the roles that you might use in a particular group, the group that you're currently in, might not be the same roles that you hold in a different group. It really depends a lot on situation, and oftentimes task roles will emerge as the group continues to develop. So as there's different needs in the group, a person might take on a particular task role. And they're certainly fluid in the sense that perhaps you can also change roles as the group develops. So maybe if you're needed in a different capacity, your role in the group could change. Another thing to remember is that you could hold multiple goals at once. These are not mutually exclusive. So perhaps you're taking on a couple of roles in one particular group so that it helps the group meet their goals. Similarly, you can have a task role at the same time that you're also engaging in a social role. And a social role is really dealing with the relationships and fostering the relationships between group members within or within individuals within the group. So these roles really help to encourage positive relationships amongst group members, to help with the a positive environment or climate within the group, to help people to get along and to build strong relationships so that they can, get those task roles done. So social are just as important as task. They're dealing with a different layer of communication, but it's just as critical to keeping the group moving forward as task roles. If there's no social roles, that relationships could, dissolve, or there could be strained relationships that could inhibit task roles from even being achieved, or from different steps in the process to get achieved, so then the group's goals never get met. So these are just as important as tasks. Again, it's important for you to go back to the book and look at the specific descriptions under each of these social roles. A couple to remember are, for instance, the tension reliever, somebody who brings in humor perhaps at a particular time in the group that can help relieve tension and help people become more relaxed. You can have somebody who is more of a harmonizer, who tries to promote harmony and understanding amongst group members. You could have an encourager, somebody who tries to promote positivity and encourage people to, keep moving forward. So all of these are really important aspects of groups. And much like the task roles, you can, take on multiple social roles at one time. These social roles could also evolve. You could start off as in one social role and then move to another as the group progresses. Lastly, I want to talk about individual roles. Within this last category, remember, these are counterproductive types of roles. These are roles that focus on the individual rather than the goals of the team. And so we know that these are people that will inhibit the group from moving forward. So much like the other two, go back to your book and make sure that you're understanding the descriptions for each of these individual types of roles. Definitely if somebody dominates the situation and doesn't allow other people to have input, but only wants to listen to themselves, that is definitely an individual role. Somebody who is aggressive towards others, basically putting their wants and needs above others and trying to, negatively influence or bully others into getting what they want. Somebody who's a recognition seeker is also one who focuses on themselves and wanting to gain their own glory rather than trying to help the group and promote the group as a whole. So these are definitely just as important to remember, because you want to make sure that you try to inhibit these roles from causing problems for the group. If you can see that an individual on your group or team is taking on these particular individual roles, then you would want to know in advance so that you can try to stop that from causing problems in the group. And perhaps it's asking, that the person be removed from the group or team environment. Perhaps it's trying to deal with them in a productive, communicative way so that they understand that their behaviors are not helping the group move forward. So thinking about how do we deal with more communicative and productive ways to enhance cohesiveness among groups members, the book lists these 6 that are important to try to gain more of that feeling of closeness amongst group members. The first is the language that you use within the group, and this is one important aspect that has to do with verbal communication. The semantics, the actual meaning behind the words we use can make a difference. So we definitely want to use we language, ours, bringing the sense of that we're all together in this is definitely important to promoting this sense of unity. If we use I language or me, that's definitely going to promote more of the individualism, which we want to avoid in a group context. So it's important to use language that suggests that the group is one unit. Attendance and participation go hand in hand with enhancing cohesiveness. So we know that we need each individual's input in order for the group to operate at an optimum level. If there's a person who is not pulling their weight or not putting in enough input, we know that that can definitely inhibit cohesiveness from occurring. So it's important that all group members are present, and if they are present, that they're actually participating in group conversations. This is very important, especially in the team environment, for productive teams to meet their goals, these specific goals. So you want to make sure that all individuals are available and active participants as they're moving the group forward. Clear goals are also really important. It's important that all individuals are on the same page as they are working in the group. If perception of goals are a little bit different, that can cause for miscommunication. So it's important that goals are very clear in the group context. Traditions and team accomplishments also go hand in hand. It's important to have regular traditions that the group follows in order to find that sense of closeness amongst them. Celebrating team accomplishments can be part of those traditions. Every time a team accomplishes a goal or a step in the process of reaching their ultimate goal, then they should be able to pat themselves on the back and really celebrate that. That allows for people to find the usefulness in others, find the ability to like one another, and so that all goes hand in hand in the cohesiveness and feeling that they're together as one unit. Traditions can go beyond just team accomplishments, but celebrating different events, having social time that individuals in the group can gather together and do other than just that focus on the task. So, for instance, oftentimes work groups or team groups might have a night where they go out after working and will socialize over dinner. So that's a tradition that is something that really promotes that sense of unity amongst group members. So last question here is, which of the following best describes groupthink? A, members feel a great deal of secondary tension. B, members take full advantage of group synergy. C, members are so critical that the climate becomes defensive. Or D, members are extremely cohesive. The correct answer to this is D, members are extremely cohesive. Now, I just talked about the benefits of cohesiveness a moment ago, but there is a level to which cohesiveness becomes too much, and it can actually be negative for the group. That's when this idea of groupthink occurs. Essentially, when group members are too cohesive, they lack the ability to question each other's thoughts and mindsets. So if everybody thinks alike, they lose one of the aspects of groups that are so important, which is having the diversity of thoughts to come up with the best ideas possible, the most creative ideas. So once groupthink occurs, that's definitely stops that in its track. Creativity no longer really occurs because people are thinking alike. There's no level of questioning amongst group members. Also, with groupthink, there's this idea that the group members start to be overly critical and fear outside information. So they don't like others to come in and give additional information that was not, brought on by the group. So that is also one of the mechanisms that is, negative for that group. It can definitely undermine creativity and cause for issues within effective groups. So this brings me to the end of the webinar. I would really encourage you to contact the course mentors of the communication team. You can do so by emailing us at comm@wgu.edu or give us a call at 1-877-435-7948 extension 3371.